Welcome to Decades of Horror, the 1980s.
That's right, Alva. It's a horrible, horrible job sifting through old contract after old contract. I couldn't think of a more horrible job if I wanted to. And you have to do it. You have to, or I'll fire you. You understand?
Mm-hmm.
This is episode 227, recorded February 22nd, 2023.
Gruesome Magazine.
My name is Jeff Mohr, and this podcast is about horror films released between 1980 and 1989. Each episode, my co-hosts Bill Mulligan, Crystal Cleveland, and Chad Hunt, and I will tackle another classic or not-so-classic film from this radical, gory, influential, and gruesome decade. Unfortunately, Chad Hunt is not with us today, but he shall return. I don't know what it is with these life things. They all think they have to happen on the day we record.
Always happen on a Wednesday.
Yeah. So anyway, joining me tonight is Crystal Cleveland, the Living Dead Girl, and co-host of the Gruesome Magazine podcast. Crystal, how you doing?
I'm great. I'm excited. I mean, I know this was my pick, so, but they haven't seen this one, so that's really exciting to me.
Yeah, we didn't watch it for the podcast either, so you're... No, I'm joking. Last but not least is Bill Mulligan, writer, director, special effects guru, and co-host of Decades of Horror of the 1970s, and an all-around nice guy.
Oh, thank you.
How you doing, Bill?
I'm doing all right. This is a busy week. Conventions are starting up again,
Yeah, that's good.
School's in session. Just a lot of things all coming together at once. But that's
spring too. Like,
well,
feels better outside.
It's February, and it was like almost 80 degrees today. So
Yep.
Well, there you go.
Whatever.
Mm-hmm. Oh, wait, what about where you are, Jeff?
Yeah,
wait,
Jeff
never
may be
mind.
getting...
He's not at home.
Oh, that's right.
So.
It's not. Yeah. There's actually an ice storm in Iowa right now. A friend of mine posted a picture of their window and said, "It's broken." Oh no, just joking. It's covered with ice. You can't see out the window.
Wow.
And here in sunny San Diego, they had a storm overnight. It was super high winds. You had to batten down the hatches because lawn furniture was blowing all over, and umbrellas were tipping over, and I know that doesn't sound near as bad as an ice storm, but it was windy as hell. That's all I can say.
Yeah.
They get worried about that stuff. All right. Also, I want to remind everybody that Decades of Horror is featured on streaming channels from Play Now Media. They've got a variety of them. I think all 3 Decades of Horror are on the free horror movie app, and then there's a free classic horror movie app that may only be classic era yet. There's also a retro horror movies, which is 70s, 80s, and 90s. It'll have 70s and 80s on it. Wicked Horror TV has all 3 of them on it. Classic Horror Movie Channel, Classic Sci-Fi Movie Channel has the classic era on it. So, hey, check that stuff out. I believe most of them, you can watch a fair amount of movies without signing up or subscribing for a fee with commercials, but there's also premium content that you don't get access to unless you subscribe. So,
honestly,
at any rate,
I think we need a Decades of Horror 90s. It's time. I feel like it's time. What do you guys think in the comments?
I'm okay
below?
with it. We just need to have somebody do it. Somebody that's got the time to do it.
Not Chad, in other words. Poor Chad's on everything else.
We have talked to Doc about it, and the question becomes, I don't know. We're thinking maybe we just do it, periodically, just if somebody comes up with one from
or we pick one day and we do like 7 films one after another. And then people
see that it makes it easier for me because the problem is, like, I would do it if I could do it on Mondays or Wednesdays when we film the other stuff, which would be fine for me.
Well, that becomes a scheduling thing because we do 70s on Wednesdays as well.
Ah.
And then where does 90s go in? That's part of it. Part of it is personnel, part of it is scheduling. You know, we want to. We
I
definitely
want
do.
to. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd actually love to do like a millennial or something, you know, movies that are favorites of mine that maybe haven't been
Okay.
big name stuff.
Yeah, it always
But-
breaks my heart when I think of a film. It's like, oh, let's do this one. I'm like, oh, 1990. Dang you.
Mhm. I know. I keep thinking. Well, my very favorite movie of all time is Bram Stoker's Dracula
Oh,
from the
yeah.
90s. So
There you
yeah,
go.
Yeah,
my
that's a
favorite
great one.
movies ever. Yep.
So anyway, those are things that are kind of in the works, things we talk about periodically and don't come up with any new solutions.
They have not invented a new day of the week.
Maybe it's a matter of
Yeah.
enlisting a new crew, and I probably shouldn't have said that out loud over the airwaves.
Oh, here they come.
Oh no.
Anyway, so yeah, so what we do here is we start with some basic details of the film that we're covering, follow it up with first impressions of the movie, and then we usually do taglines, and then just kind of move into general things. We have a few visual aids for people to check out relating to the movie, and obviously by this intro, then just wander wherever the heck we go, right?
Mhm, mhm.
All right, so our movie today, if you couldn't tell by the intro, is Vampire's Kiss from 1988, directed by Robert Bierman, written by Joseph Minion, starring Nicolas Cage, María Conchita Alonso, Jennifer Beals, Elizabeth Ashley, Casey Lemmons. The production company is Helmdale and Magellan Pictures. Filmed in New York City,
Get a rope.
from August 31st to October 15th, 1987. And the release schedule is a little bizarre. Released in, it was shown in May 1988 in Cannes, however we say that.
Con.
September 1988 at the Boston Film Festival, and then had a limited U.S. release on June 2nd, 1989. Budget is estimated to be $2 million. Domestic box office, $725,000.
Oh, well.
And I forgot to look up the pronunciation of these, but these are just too awesome. Also known as, in Germany, Vampire's Kiss, ein beißendes Vergnügen, which is Vampire's Kiss, biting pleasure.
Okay.
And then Danish, Vem har taget mein Tender, who took my teeth?
Wow.
And I actually kind of like that. I mean,
Yeah.
doesn't necessarily mean a vampire movie, but okay. And the synopsis: after an encounter with a neck biter, a publishing executive thinks that he's turning into a vampire. And there is
The man.
Nicolas Cage as our, I don't know, pseudo vampire in the later stages of his
Transformation.
Yeah.
or degeneration,
Uh,
dragging his own stake along with him, which he's ripped from a pallet. Anyway, all right. Well, let's do first impressions. And I can't remember if we said this out loud before or not, but this is Crystal's pick.
yep. Yep.
So give it to us, Crystal.
So I've always loved this movie. I mean, I saw it as a kid, but obviously I didn't realize what a player he was. I remember as a kid not getting it as much because I was mad how she treated him, how she was so mean to him and stuff. I didn't understand that this was like all I didn't understand he was actually mentally unstable. I thought that the movie was exactly what it was supposed to be.
You took it at face value.
She was messing with them. And so it upset me to a degree, but I still liked it. I remember thinking how wild it was, how wild he was. I didn't understand that he had actually, even though he says it, that he raped Maria Chiquita Alonso's like character. I thought he just bit her. It didn't even click in my brain because they didn't really like.
Yeah, Alva.
Yeah, they didn't. It wasn't obvious, I guess, until he said it, and stuff like that just kind of glazed by me then. But I
Sure.
still love this movie. It still works to this day. It's psychological, clearly. It kind of gives me vibes of like American Psycho because
Yeah.
yeah,
can see that.
because a lot of American Psycho I think is in his head anyway. So I think this kind of is like that, but it's more obvious. I mean, it gets pretty obvious toward the end when he's talking to his therapist. I think this is honestly not Nicolas Cage's greatest movie. Maybe no, it's definitely not his best movie because he's got a ton of good movies. But his performance in this, it might be his best, or it's one of his best for sure. Like he's wild, he's unhinged, and I mean, a young Nicolas Cage. I think he's toned it down a lot. Now his acting is a lot more subtle, but there's something about like Moonstruck and this and like these movies. There's just this whole Raising Arizona, like all the there's just something unbridled and awesome about him in these kind of movies. So I mean, we'll talk about the casting later on. I think this absolutely worked. I don't think if anyone else would have been cast in this, I think it still would have gotten panned when it came out. And I don't think it would be a classic, or I don't think it would have gotten the recognition like it has now. So yeah, I love it. I dig it. So hope y'all did too.
Okay. Well, let's see what Bill thinks about Vampire's Kiss.
It's funny, if we had done this a few days ago, I would have had a different attitude entirely. Of all the Nicolas Cage performances out there, this is the Nicolas Cage-iest. It is It is no coincidence that this movie has been picked apart for memes. You can literally take any shot of him, any 3-second shot in this movie, and make a meme out of it. It is so unhinged. And as I'm watching it, this is the first time I had seen it, I had heard of it, and I knew the basic idea. I was under the impression it was just going to be a comedy about a guy thinking that he turns into a vampire. But the humor is very dark. And his character is just so unlikable. I'm trying to think of another movie with a protagonist who is so unlikable. He's awful to Alva, to the people who work for him, needlessly mean and cruel and dismissing. He's the boss from hell.
Yes.
Other than bosses in movies who actually kill and eat their workers, it's hard to imagine a worse one. This is a guy you could actually end up working for. I've heard of bosses from hell stories. Never had him myself, thank God, but who are like this guy. So that's unpleasant. And I wasn't really enjoying the movie that much. But you stick with it because, you got to talk about it on the podcast. And the longer I watched it, the more I just got into it. And then as the days went by, and when it was over, I'm like, okay, I don't know what they were going for here, but it's been boring into my head like a little worm.
Okay, yeah.
You sort of go for the ride. It's just so nuts. And I don't know what they were thinking. I still don't know what they were thinking. There was no way this was going to make money. It must be great. The thing about Nicolas Cage, for some reason, people are willing to let him just swing for the fences.
Oh yeah.
You look at this. You look at Peggy Sue Got Married, where he had
I love that movie.
crazy
Oh my
voice that
God,
sounded like Pokey from
yes.
Gumby and Pokey. And then you see something like Moonstruck, where he's just acting. He's just a regular guy, and he can do all this. I've heard rumors that on the set he'll do an underperformance, an overperformance, and then one sort of in the middle. And I think for this one, they kept all the overperformances. You see, one thing one of my favorite ones for him, just a popcorn movie, The Rock, where he plays like a likable everyman type character who's kind of the straight man to Sean Connery. But every now and then he just loses his shit and goes nuts and comes out with some phrase where you can see this guy is living his whole life set to 3. And then all of a sudden he comes out a burst at 10.
Mm-hmm.
Well, this is Nicolas Cage at 10, except for those occasional bursts to 11 or 12. He's just absolutely insane. His accent is bizarre, and it's clearly not real because he loses it and gains it depending on who he's talking to. It's crazy, and you got to be in the right mood.
Yes.
You have to be in the right mood, watching it with the right people who are into this sort of thing, and just know what you're getting, what you're going into, and just sort of enjoy it for what it is. It's, you know, a chance to see one of our best actors who sometimes misses. You know,
No,
the
he doesn't.
Wicker Man. Oh, come
No,
on, the Wicker Man.
Nope. He's perfect.
The Wicker Man.
I am a huge Cage fan. Let me just tell you, I don't know what it is with him. Even if he's bad, he's good to me. Sorry, go ahead. Sorry.
Now, admittedly, the Wicker Man, even if he had done even if he had played it straight, that movie was hopeless. So maybe he knew something we didn't know, which is that the only reason people watch the remake of The Wicker Man is for, you know, not the bees. They just watch Nicolas Cage go unhinged in a movie that otherwise has nothing going for it. But yeah, this performance, it's something, and it's literally the only thing people talk about. Yeah, you know, that it is really the only real reason to watch the movie, I think, because otherwise there's not a whole lot that goes on. There's some other characters, but except for María, Alonso, Alva, they don't really, you know, Elizabeth Ashley is in there, but don't really know why.
she's a little odd too.
Yeah, she's a little odd too. But when you're in a movie with Nicolas Cage, you can be really odd, and you're still the voice of reason.
Right.
So you know, it's Jennifer Beals, who was never one of my favorite actresses. I think she's fine in this, in the role that she's given. I think she's enjoyable to watch and all. But this is a one-man show.
Yeah, it is. I think that's the point, though. It really is about him.
And I can see why when people ask him, what's your favorite performance of all time, he often brings this movie up. And everyone's like, really?
Oh, really? He does? I didn't know that. I mean, I never watch interviews.
Oh, yeah. Oh, he loves this movie.
I don't usually care about finding out enough about the actors, which I probably should. But yeah, he's good. He's good. I was like watching him, and actually Mason was watching it with me, and he never watches anything. He never stays interested, but he was like, Nicolas Cage, man.
And even when you get explanations, like they say, well, what people don't understand is that he was imitating Max Schreck from Nosferatu.
Oh.
And I'm like, okay, well, that's an interesting explanation, but are you aware that that's absolutely insane?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Well, not only that, it's a silent film. So
yes.
Right. So no, that literally no one except maybe the people in this room right now would have gotten that. It's like, boy, he's acting like he's in a silent German expressionistic movie. Yeah, I don't think that's what the average moviegoer is going to say when they see someone rolling their eyes and just really getting crazy with it. But okay, hey, you know, they didn't make any money though. The one I was reading kind of an oral history of this movie, and the one thing, except for the actors, everyone involved in this movie, it pretty much wrecked their careers. When you,
so
it is.
Well,
I mean, you didn't lose a lot of money. The movie cost $2 million. So even if it didn't make a dime, the most you could lose is $2 million. There's movies that make that look like nothing, but
yeah. I hadn't seen this before either, and I'm glad you picked it, Crystal. I think, you know, at the time I probably heard the negative reviews and turned my nose up at it, but this time I had a lot of fun with it because you know, all the movies we've done on Gruesome Magazine podcasts that are current, that have Nicolas Cage starring, it's always like, who's going to show up? You know, there's I don't think we reviewed it, but there's the one recent one where he has no lines. He doesn't talk.
Oh,
Pig?
yes, we did. Oh, wait, not Pig. No, it was Willy's Wonderland, wasn't it?
Willy's Wonderland. Yes.
Oh,
yeah,
there you go.
That's what I'm thinking of. Yeah.
So good in that.
Yeah. So,
and he doesn't have a line of dialogue.
Mm-mm.
Wow.
And that's, see, like, I
He
think
just
that he did that
looks-
intentionally so that it's something, because he's always pushing. The reason why I feel like he's such a phenomenal actor is because he's always trying something new, always pushing these weird boundaries. And
Well, I had fun with him, just watching him. And I also kind of had fun with, as crazy as he is, then María Conchita Alonso's
she's so
performance
good.
is so straight.
Yep.
Like, how would you react if your boss was this lunatic? It's like, she's scared of him. She first kind of thinks she can just slough him off. And so anyway, doesn't go well. And Jennifer Beals, I'm glad you said that, Crystal, because I was all this time I've been trying to figure out what was real, what wasn't. And now what you just said is like, oh, okay.
Yeah. Woof.
So anyway, that was fun. That was fun. So we have it's now time for taglines.
Oh.
And since Chad isn't here, we'll just have to do, taglines with Chad as played by Bill.
I'm French! Why do you think I have this outrageous accent?
That works for this one, actually.
Yeah.
And that's why I pulled it. So, and we've been talking about Monty Python. I don't remember if we were talking about it on 70s or what, but anyway, our one tagline. They didn't waste a lot of time in the marketing on this.
No, it wasn't in the theaters long enough. Seduction, romance, murder, the things one does for love.
Oh, God, no. This might be the worst tagline for a movie ever.
I feel like that was for a completely different movie, and it just got stuck on the wrong poster.
Oh, my gosh. What? It doesn't fit the vibe.
Yeah.
All right.
And neither does the poster, quite frankly.
That's been taglines with Chad as played by Bill Mulligan.
Sketch is over.
Oh, there you go.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
So I was going to have so much fun with Chad on that. I'm sorry he was gone, but that works for Bill.
Yeah, totally.
Oh, God, Monty Python. I hope nobody minds my little jokes of my own. Well, let's take a look at some stuff here. So here's two posters.
See, I don't remember either one of those. I don't know why.
I don't know what they're going for with the top one, except to sort of go along the after hours vibe. But I don't get it.
Well, the one on the bottom is Dutch, I believe, and I actually plugged that tagline into a translator.
It must mean the same thing.
It means exactly the same thing.
It looks like it.
They just went,
romantic.
We're not thinking of something new.
And
at least the one on the bottom gives you a taste of what you're going to get.
Yes, that crazy face. You immediately know. Uh-oh.
And a bat.
Yeah.
Makes an appearance too. I kind of like the visual, the color and that stuff of the top one, but it doesn't.
Yeah, I mean, at least
it doesn't give you an impression of the movie at all.
No. But then this was a hard sell. I vaguely remember the trailer for it, and all I remember is Nicolas Cage like hissing at a mirror or something, or putting in the fake fangs, and I'm like, what the hell is this? It wasn't enough to get me in the seat. So
speaking of, I guess, yeah, that's the way. I mean, the top shot is when he's being the boss. He's being normal then.
Is
that when he's? That's not when he's in the meeting with everyone, is it?
No, I think this is when he's doing the quote. The quote that
I think he's telling Alva,
Yeah.
You have the worst job ever.
And the bottom one is about the same time of the shot I had in the intro slide. He's walking along the street with his plank. He's ripped off a pallet on the street.
Just molesting people that had no idea they were making a movie. So he's just walking this crazy. They probably went home. It's like, you wouldn't believe, in New York, this crazy guy just wandered up to me with blood all over his face. And
He's walking down the street screaming, "I'm a vampire! Among regular
And
folk."
like all New Yorkers, just keep your eyes straight and you walk past them.
Well, and there's the teeth. Just
look at the expressions.
It's so funny.
The expressions are just so. That middle one is just so funny.
Well, I swear too. You guys tell me. I think I never saw him obviously do it, but I swear they were up. They were oriented 180 degrees a couple of times.
Probably.
Like the wider fangs were on the bottom, and then
that makes you a werewolf.
That's
when I was a kid. That was the rules. If you had the fangs,
really?
Longer fangs on the bottom,
you're a vampire. If you flip them upside down, you're a werewolf.
Okay.
I'm sure some of the viewers will back me up on this. That was
Yeah, so he goes into the store to buy the fangs, and I forget how much the real ones were.
Like $20
ivory.
Weren't there, or were they 99? I don't know. He got those for $3.50. Which...
Yeah, they think cheaper.
Yeah.
Well, yes, we have these plastic ones.
Yuck.
Good enough.
And he runs all over New York with those fangs. Yeah. So then the Jennifer Beals plays the the synopsis says the biter, calls her a biter or something like that, wasn't it?
She's had an odd career. Right about the time she made this, she was also the Bride of Frankenstein. But that movie didn't do particularly well. She's in Prophecy 2, but all anyone remembers from those movies is Christopher Walken. But she's a very, very attractive woman. I loved Flashdance when it came out.
Mm-hmm.
I realized a lot of the stuff that I loved was her body double, not her, but I thought she acquitted herself quite well in that. She's had a career. You say, Crystal, you were telling me she was very good in the L Word.
Yeah, and she's still in it. Like it's still a thing. She's been in quite a bit of stuff. She was in the Book of Boba Fett too, and Eli, and Book of Eli, and like she's done a lot. It's just stuff you must not have seen.
Oh, the Swamp Thing.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The series.
Oh, really?
But she's great. She's great in the L Word. Like they did the L Word, and then that series ended, but they restarted it back up like a few years ago. So yeah.
Yeah, she's really active in terms of credit, over the last 20 years.
Yeah.
Now, I guess one of the things I read was that Nicolas Cage actually wanted his girlfriend or wife, Patricia Arquette, to play this role. And he was pretty unhappy. I guess he and Beal didn't get along because he was clearly unhappy about the fact that didn't happen. And then the one that was interesting, Crystal mentioned this before, that they had talked about having one actress play both the vampire and Alva, which I think would have been fascinating.
I think it would have brought together the whole bunch of crazy. Like, I think that would have actually it would have made a lot of sense. It would have made a lot of sense.
But it would have also given away the game that it's all in his head. Because once you see that, it's like, oh no, he's just a crazy guy who is having visions.
Okay, so help me out here. Did the Jennifer Beals character, Rachel, actually bite him?
I don't think so.
I don't think she existed.
I think she did. I just think they had a one night stand. Because if you notice when he goes up to her in the club, he's like, oh, you remember me? And she's like, Peter? Like, and that's the only part that seemed like real, because she acts totally different there. And then as soon as he gets all crazy and he's like, let me see her, she's like, shut up. Right. I think that I think parts of his life were real. And, I think he was a philanderer or whatever and had was a playboy or whatever. And I think he went kind of off at a point. What set him off? I don't know. I mean, maybe he was like this the whole time, but yeah,
he was really mean to that one young lady that he kept standing up and everything.
And
that's this is the one thing that would keep me from really loving this movie is I have to have someone to root for. And
I think you're supposed to root for Alva.
Well, you do up to a point, but it's like, okay, you have the worst job on earth with the worst boss on earth. Quit.
But
and I know it's easy to say, but
you realize she doesn't exist, right?
Alva?
Yeah, that wasn't real either. If you notice at
Oh.
the end, neither one of them, I think, are like completely as they seem. Because when he's the one that actually kills him. He's the one that actually impales himself. Because the moment that the dude pushes it in, did you notice he disappeared? He was gone. He didn't run out. They didn't show him running out. He's not there. And Nicolas Cage is holding it and starts to pull it in. And then all we see is supposedly this dude pushing it in, and then he's disappeared. Yeah. He's cuckoo
Well,
loco.
now
Yeah.
I have
Isn't
to
it-
watch it again.
Yeah, now I gotta see. That. This is how Crystal gets you. It's like, oh, you missed this essential part of the film. Like, what? Oh, you gotta watch it again.
It's crazy. So, I mean, even for me, I have a difficult time deciphering what's real and what's Memorex because I'm like, well, but that part, he killed himself. That was for sure. I'm certain about that. So therefore, that leads me to believe that he never actually raped her. He only did it in his brain, and he's punishing himself for something he thinks he did. It's so crazy. It's so crazy. It's hard. It's hard. It's actually hard to wrap my head around being that crazy. And normally I hate an unreliable narrator.
When is the crazy guy
he's okay in this because
actually being truthful?
Yes. Like
this would be a good double feature with American Psycho.
Yes. Because if you watch, we got to do American Psycho at some point in the 90s or whatever. But if you watch American Psycho, I'm like, I think that's all in his head. And if you notice Willem Dafoe, like a Jared Leto's character or whatever, actually comes back, they're like, oh no, we found him. Like he wasn't ever gone or dead or whatever. Like it's crazy. The whole thing is so crazy. I'm like, wait, I'm trying to wrap my head around this. Okay, I can't. So yeah, I think he thinks he's doing these things. I mean, he chainsaws a girl, a hooker, apparently, that he drops a chainsaw in his apartment complex and no one knows, no one hears. That's come on. Can't be. Yeah. At a point. But
I love the his coffin, so to speak.
The sofa.
The sofa, upside down sofa.
God, so sad. Honestly, it makes me wonder if he didn't. Is that really like, does he really have a job? Was that real even? Because I mean, I know he ripped up his apartment, but really when you look at it, when he goes back, maybe he's just squatting somewhere. I'm not sure.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. I'm not quite, I haven't quite, I don't think that heavily into some of this stuff, but I could see that being, unfortunately, I mean, I know they didn't do this on purpose, but I could see this as totally being a metaphor about someone who's homeless and how we have most of the people that are homeless have such mental instability. Unfortunately, you could totally make that sort of. I could make a case. I could make a case for that. But I mean, he's literally talking to his therapist. What is he talking to? Like a. The whole conversation.
Well, she don't act like a therapist either. I mean,
no.
She's like excited by his. She seems like she's like a friend at the bar who gets into the crazy story he's telling. Oh well, what? And you're right. Apparently, Christian Bale used this performance as
he did.
Really?
Yeah.
What? Really?
Cool.
He really? Oh my! Sorry, I really didn't know that. Sorry, that was loud. But I could see it. But Christian Bale's way more understated. But he's brilliant. See, Christian Bale's another one of my favorites. I'm like brilliant. I totally see it. That's cool.
So, and I don't know. I'm kind of jumping around, but and he eats a cockroach. He really eats a cockroach.
Wait, that was real? He did that?
That was real. And that was not in the script. That was he was supposed to eat like a raw egg. And he was like, raw egg? I'm Nicolas Cage.
Well,
I'm going to eat a cockroach.
I admire his dedication to
like Renfield,
Yeah. And then they probably said, okay, well, we'll find someone to maybe make a cockroach out of chocolate or something. Did you not hear me? I'm Nicolas Cage. I'm going to eat an actual cockroach. 2 takes.
It was 2 takes. He had to do it twice.
I would gag.
There's no way.
The
crunchiness, that crunch,
no. Also, cockroaches taste horrible. And I know this because like no one ever uses them for bait or anything when you go fishing, because even fish will eat cockroaches.
That's a good point, Bill. Yeah.
Hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Well, they used to, at the university here, the etymology club would sell chocolate covered.
Okay.
Various
Crickets and
chocolate
stuff.
covered
Yeah.
Yes,
insects,
yeah,
you know.
those are fine. Those are fine. You notice they never sold chocolate covered grass or cockroaches
Because
they
cockroaches
taste
are
bad.
gross.
Yes,
They're like
they are.
the bottom feeders of
Well, but
Beetles
so
taste
are
bad.
but so are carp and bullheads, and people eat them.
Yeah, because carp and
terms of fish.
bullheads have standards. They will not eat cockroaches.
Well, as far as you know.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's take a look at Alva.
Oops.
María Conchita Alonso.
And she's been in some cool stuff. I'd forgotten The Running Man and Predator
Yeah.
2.
I love her. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yep. She
Yeah,
was
she's-
great in this. And
Mhm.
I think you're absolutely right. Like Jeff, like her performance makes her just seem more stable even. It makes him seem crazier, honestly. And I think that works out really well. I think the yin to the yang is really, really nice. And she was in The Prey, wasn't she?
Really?
Wasn't she in The Prey?
The
She had
recent
a-
one?
Yeah, didn't she have a no?
I don't think.
What was she in recently, Jeff, that we reviewed?
Oh, an Into the Dark episode.
Yeah, maybe that's what it was. It was.
Um,
I know it was Cabinet of Curiosities.
Oh,
She's in one of
okay.
the episodes of that. Remember the one with the one where they where they auction off the storage facilities. She owned the storage facility and he took all of her stuff. Yeah. Remember that? Do you?
I do remember that.
Yeah.
I'm not sure
We talked
noticed.
about it.
Did we? Well, I'm not.
Mhm.
Why is she not?
Am I wrong?
It's not
Am I
listed in her
stupid?
credits, is all.
Maria.
But I can't figure out in the Into the Dark. Oh, here it is. I love it when they change software. Good Boy, the dog one. Remember that one? Crystal.
The dog one?
Yeah, Good Boy.
Oh, yes. Oh, that was a good one. Bill, if you haven't seen it, it's really cute.
I haven't. Okay.
Yeah. A lot of the Into the Darks are pretty decent. She
Now
looks good.
Now that we remembered that. Yep.
She looks good. Yeah.
But she's done a lot of stuff. The Outer Limits. She had an episode of The Outer Limits in the 90s.
Oh,
Okay.
there's another movie, Vampiras, The Brides. 2022 coming out or just came out. So that she was in.
Oh, cool.
Mm-hmm. Never seen that, but it is cool. It is well.
Maybe.
She's got quite a bit. She's still working on quite a bit of
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah.
That's good.
Well, it's good to see both her and Jennifer Beals are still real active, as is Nicolas Cage.
So you're right, Bill. The actors were fine.
Yeah, they did
Everybody
fine.
else was not fine.
No.
They
The
did.
princess
Their-
and the barrio boy. Oh my
Their
God,
phone
that's
stopped
funny.
ringing. Yeah.
Yeah, that's too
Well,
bad.
We did mention Elizabeth Ashley, and I'm not even. She's still alive, and she's. My math fails me right this minute. Over 80.
Oh wow.
She was in a lot of stuff, not a lot of genre stuff, but she's a good actress who did a lot of things. I thought she was odd in this movie because I think she made the mistake of watching Cage's performance and thinking, that's what we should do. And no, I think everyone else needed to just sort of play it straight and let him do his thing.
Well, now I have to go back and watch it. It's got her in 13 episodes of Russian Doll, and I don't remember
Oh.
that. But it's been a while. I watched the first season, and I didn't watch the second season or partial second season. I'm not sure how that worked out. But anyway, okie dokie. She was in Ocean's 8. 2018. So yeah, working actors. But you did mention Bill.
Yes.
So Robert Bierman did 6 episodes of Waking the Dead. Mostly TV, The Blonde Bombshell.
Yeah, I think the bigger
A
name
short
behind the
was the
scenes was the
writer.
writer.
Yeah.
That he had, achieved some notoriety. And but so apparently he and the producer, one of the producers, were an item, and they had a very, well, he would say toxic relationship, and that was what inspired the script. It's sort of amazing that then they still kept on working together and seemed to like each other. If this is what, if a relationship inspired me to write a script like this, I think I'd want to get as far away from it as possible.
Yes.
Yeah, he didn't do it doesn't have a long, he's only got 12 credits here in IMDb as a writer, 4 as a director.
I think people underestimate what it's like to spend. I mean, when you think about it, a film like this, 2 years of your life.
Yeah, I can't even
making a film and having it just die. And this one died at the
the whole
office.
process would die is not my personality. I couldn't handle that.
Yeah.
That constant attention to detail.
I was just reading another oral history about, what was that one with Jennifer Lopez and Ben Affleck?
Geely? Yeah.
The guy who directed that movie, if you look at what he directed some amazingly successful films, and then he made this one, and then he disappeared. It broke his heart, and he never wanted to go through it again. I mean, some guys can bounce back. Some folks can make a movie and it just comes out and people crap all over it, and they shrug and go on to the next one. But then there's some that's it. They never want to put that much of their soul in and have people ignore it, or worse.
I think that sometimes it's not. I don't think everything should fall on the director's shoulders, because there has been many movies that we've reviewed for Gruesome, and I'm like, no, the direction was good, the story is trash, and the writer is the problem here. Like, absolutely 1,000% the writer. And let me tell you, sometimes working is working, and if you're gonna pay me, I'm gonna take a job. It may not be what I want to do, but I'm gonna do it. So like, I feel bad I think it would be much more difficult if you're the writer and the director, because you're basically
who can you blame?
You're putting your own vision on the screen. But
because most writers would tell you, hey, yeah, the movie stunk, but trust me, the last thing I had to do with it is when they bought the script, and then they didn't even want me on the set. They took a great, and you hear a lot. It was a great script, and you're like, really, what happened? Who knows?
So many people are involved, and it's sometimes things happen, unfortunately.
And you hope that kind of what happens is what happened to this film, that as the years go by, it starts building up a bit of a reputation. Doesn't do you any damn good at that point. Once the movie stiffs at the butt, it doesn't matter if it gets rediscovered later on, and it's like, oh my God, your movie's inspired a lot of memes. It's like, yeah, well, that doesn't put any food on the table.
Well, these are some of the reviews. So in Variety, they said Cage's over-the-top performance generates little sympathy for the character, so it's tough to be interested in him as his personality disorder worsens. In the New York Times, the film is dominated and destroyed by Mr. Cage's chaotic, self-indulgent performance.
See, they had no vision. They really, and I don't usually say this, but they didn't.
In the LA Times, they called it a sleek, outrageous, dark comedy that's all the funnier for constantly teetering on the brink of sheer tastelessness and silliness.
That's perfect. Yep. Absolutely. That is probably the best explanation of this movie I've
ever. Who wrote that review? Crystal?
Yeah. It's a divisive film. The Washington Post called the film stone dead bad, incoherently bad, but said that Cage's overacting must be seen to be believed.
Well, that's true too. Yes.
Philadelphia Inquirer, imaginative if warped black comedy. Some of those okay.
So here's the thing. I don't think Nicolas Cage was overacting in this, and I'll tell you why. I think when people overact, it doesn't come off as authentic. I believed every second of what he said as true to the character, and that the character believed it and the character felt it. That's not overacting. It may be a little in your face, but some people are like that. Like, have you only dealt with people that are like this, and then they deliver all their, this is how people talk to you. If you're gonna stay in your little box, then you go right ahead, you little critic, and don't watch movies because you suck.
Well, I like your I like your interpretation, Crystal, that if he was even possibly a homeless person living in his own schizophrenic delusions or something, that then it almost starts to kind of make sense.
Makes sense, doesn't it? Yeah, it does. It's like, whoa, I see. And really, you don't really start to develop that or see that until you see him have that conversation with this therapist, and then he meets that other girl,
right,
who is obviously not. And I think that's showing you that she doesn't exist, and he's having that and he brings her back home, and it's funny that by the time he gets there, how they're having that fight. I told you. I'm like, jeez Louise, this guy. Sad.
But that's an interesting thought that when you say he's not overacting, and then it becomes like, the interesting thing is that this guy is so clearly insane, and yet nobody sees it. They just accept that this is his normal behavior.
Well, I mean, there's lots of people you see on the streets that are homeless people, and they're talking to themselves.
Yeah.
Let's not pretend that we haven't passed people and they're like.
And that whole final scene where he's walking down the street and rips the piece off the pallet and is screaming, "I'm a vampire! Somebody killed me!" All those people were real street people. Those were not actors that
and
were
so
looking
they
at
probably
him
were
and backing away. And
that's probably not that abnormal for them.
So, Crystal, what was your favorite bit? Was it him doing the alphabet? Was it him doing the yelling at Alva? Was it the "I'm a vampire, kill me"? What's your if you had just one clip from this movie to show people, what would it be?
Oh my God. It's for sure the conversation with his therapist, but it's toward the end when he's like, he tells her, "Oh, your whole profession is full of hacks and stuff," and then she introduces him to the girl, and he's like, "Oh, wonderful!" Like, he totally flips. This character just really does this, and I kind of get it because I see that as the instability. It almost comes off as a little hormonal too, and I know it's kind of weird, but it does. And then after that, how he oh my God, I just lost my train of thought. I got so into this.
I don't know that I could pick one. I mean, I love the scenes with the plastic teeth, and I love the scenes at the end where he's walking down the street, just going, and just the craziest. Anyway, and the ending is
poetic.
Regardless of what the interpretation of it is, it's. I don't know that it's sudden, but it was definitely a downer ending,
But didn't it seem
fit?
It was fitting, right? Like, I mean, I think
that's what it was heading for. Yeah.
Right. How else could they end something like this?
Oh yes, I know. Specifically when he tells his therapist that he raped a girl, and she's like, "Well, yeah," and the other girl's like, "Oh my," and then he's like, "And then I murdered someone," and she's like, "Oh, people get murdered every day," So I think they're showing you,
obviously,
yes. Yeah. So like, okay, I see this now. What a movie. I honestly think in some ways it's kind of brilliant. People would fight me on that, and they have a right to fight me, and I could be totally wrong. But
I liked it a whole lot better than I expected.
Good.
And I will probably watch it again because I think
I'm sure I will too.
Just watching that performance, it's just crazy.
Like, I think there is something special. I see this is what I want to do. I love playing crazy like that. I want that. That is so freeing. It's like, he's so lucky that he has these opportunities to do this, I know that he appreciates it, even though it's like he is a little bit of a nepo baby, but like he deserves it. He's so talented.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And he's still producing some amazing stuff. You know, he's had his ups and downs in his career, and there, you know, some tax problems. He's had to take some movies that were definitely not worthy of his talents. But now he's having kind of like a late renaissance.
Yeah, isn't it awesome?
They're giving him some really cool roles that that only he can play. He's kind of reached that point like Christopher Walken, where if you've got a Christopher Walken type character, there's only one person you cast. In fact, you probably wrote it for him.
Yeah.
I feel the same way with Nicolas Cage. It's like, you know, we've got a script for Nicolas Cage. He's the only guy who could play this. And I can totally understand.
We've done a ton of movies, and they're all, you know, regardless of how good the movie is, he's always fun to watch. Yeah,
yeah.
He's always fun to watch. Color Out of Space was one of my favorites.
Oh yeah,
of the year. It came out, and he
Mandy.
plays it fairly straight until, you know, stuff starts, you know, the old ones start taking over, and then wow, he's perfect for that. And okay, well, I don't know, we got anything else we want to say here?
No, I think we covered it pretty well.
Thanks,
Crystal.
Crystal.
Yeah, I'm glad y'all liked it. I was a little
it.
bit worried. I did tell y'all it was funny and weird.
Oh yeah,
So
you're right. You were correct.
I did say that. It just
Did not steer us wrong at all.
Yeah, because it is.
You did not. Well, we do have
Oh yeah.
a lot of feedback.
Oh, sure do.
Okay. So let's start with Bill Mulligan. We have a recommendation I found buried on the Facebook page from Mikey Z.
Okay, Mikey Z.
Mikey Z.
Been a while since I offered suggestions, so here they come. 80s, Night of the Werewolf, Nashi for the 80s. Star Trek V, The Final Frontier. Parents, 1989.
Oh wow.
Indiana Jones, The Temple of Doom. Yeah, that's got horror. They made the PG-13 just for that. And Jaws 3, double tap, but needs a proper examination by the Decades of Horror group.
I love Jaws 3.
Oh wow.
Well,
you're the one.
I love Jaws 3. That is all. Like,
did
it
you
is
did you see it
good.
in 3D when it
No,
came out?
No,
Oh, I did.
I did. No, I wish.
is that Dennis Quaid?
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
He's
He always
fabulous.
He always puts that at the top of his resume.
Hey, you know what? It was so good.
I'll bet he does. Okay, Crystal, episode. Oh, thanks, Mikey Z.
Thank you, Mikey
And
Z.
you know, we give you a hard time, but we do consider
love you.
this stuff, as you'll find out later.
Wait, we do. Well, how do we give him a hard time? Like,
Oh, for his picks,
are
you know,
y'all
like
giving him
Frankenstein. Frankenstein.
Well, he keeps
Oh.
picking. Yeah,
one of
this
his
this
picks.
time he
That's
left
okay.
out Frankenstein Island.
Yes,
he
he
finally
did.
learned his lesson,
did.
or he
He
went and
did.
actually watched it.
Well, because this was only 80s stuff. So
Right.
all those are actually good picks. Parents,
yeah.
Right.
though. I think I remember Parents, but I almost don't. I think that was
Also
that's
a
a
black
good one.
comedy.
Yeah. It kind of reminds me of Serial Mom.
Mm-hmm.
I don't believe I have seen that one. Oh, Randy Quaid. Okay, yes, I have seen it. Mary Beth Hurt. Comedy, horror, mystery. Okay, well, Crystal, the next one, episode 214, The Fly 2.
Okay, Fire Tiger 941. I think the reason why all of you loved the movie so much more than you remember, is because everything made these days sucks. Haha. You're not really wrong. It is also a great sequel and creature feature with incredible special effects. Yes.
Yeah, you're not wrong, Fire Tiger.
No.
You're right.
No.
Now, I wouldn't go so
totally-
far as to say everything made today sucks, but
Well,
there's
of
so
course,
much being made. There's
Right.
so much out
Right.
there that there's a lot of suckiness to get through.
And as Theodore Sturgeon said,
90% of everything is crap.
yep.
That's not wrong.
Yeah. And as Harlan Ellison said, Theodore Sturgeon was an optimist.
Was what?
Was an optimist.
Oh, you might be right there. Too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Bill, on episode 224, Nightmare on Elm Street 3.
From Lone Wolf. Lone Wolf. Since Wolfen is so hard to find on streaming services, how about Company of Wolves?
Hey.
Good thinking. Or Silver Bullet,
I
1985.
love Silver Bullet. Stephen
Decades of
King.
Horror needs to get a bit wolfier. Well,
I'm totally with you.
we were so impressed with your suggestion that before we even heard it, we did Company of Wolves. And I suspect Silver Bullet
is one of the best.
Yeah,
like
Silver Bullet will-
Corey Haim. Yeah.
Yeah, we will get to that, no doubt. I love
Gary
werewolves too.
Busey too. Would speak.
Yeah. Speaking of
Oh my
restrained
God, yes.
performers,
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
I forgot about it. I only think we're.
has there ever been a movie with Gary Busey and Nicolas Cage in the same movie? And could the screen contain
Explode?
that much awesomeness?
I don't know.
Yeah.
All right. And now a couple for The Changeling, episode 225. Bill Gabriel, and I forget where we're at, I guess, Crystal.
Oh, okay. I didn't know if you were going to read so. Okay. Bill Gabriel.
Yeah.
One of the top 3 haunted house movies: The Haunting, The Innocents, and The Changeling. Fourth would be The Legend of Hill House.
Those are solid picks. Yeah.
I love you, Bill, the 70s and classic era stuff. And they were kind of in a back and forth here. Mikey Z threw up Poltergeist
Ooh.
as well, which, it's weird. There's a lot of haunted house movies I never really thought of as haunted house.
Yeah,
that is
that
you're
don't
right. It is.
necessarily fit the tropes, but yeah.
Sure.
Heck
Yeah,
yeah.
most definitely. I have not seen The Legend of Hill House, but now I will. I'll watch
You
it.
must.
Yeah.
Pamela Franklin. Yeah.
Roddy McDowell.
Yep.
Oh, I love Roddy McDowell. Okay, yeah. So yeah, sorry, I was looking that up after. I was like, oh,
Yeah, and
I'll
it's from
watch
a
that,
Richard
Bill.
Matheson book, which is equally good.
Yeah.
Okay.
Looks cool.
There
There you
episode
go, Bill.
226. Oh no, first Bill.
Yes.
Another one on the Changeling from Jerry Chandler.
Chandler. We haven't heard from Jerry in a little while.
I know.
He's a very busy guy, but it's always great to get a short, brief little missive from Jerry. And this one is actually pretty short. Everything is there to make this one a ripping great ghost haunted house story, but for some reason it just doesn't work for me. And I think the primary reason it just doesn't gel for me is George C. Scott. He never portrayed his character as scared or even overly concerned. And I think that always affects me as a viewer. And it's not the I'm not scared vibe, stupid characters that have just before they're going to die. It's just like, oh yeah, it's a ghost and something. Yeah, kind of. Yeah. I actually get
it's
what
so
he's saying
true.
there.
Yes.
Yeah.
I
never
totally
felt
agree.
I never felt for a minute like George C. Scott was in any danger.
Well, then he says, I think it just keeps me from connecting with it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
I get it.
that's actually an excellent point, Jerry. Yeah, I maybe someone a little less. George C. Scott's intimidating,
Yeah.
Well,
whether he's playing Patton or not, he's intimidating.
I'm going to disagree because there are some scenes where he looks terrified, like where he's bashed around on the floor, and another one where he's trying to climb up the stairs and anyway. But he doesn't shrink from the challenge. So anyway, appreciate it, Jerry.
Thanks, Jerry.
And then a couple short ones for the Company of Wolves, 226. And I'm going to do the first one just because Jeremiah the Pisces.
Man, we haven't heard from him in forever. Jeremiah, where have you been?
Where
Mr.
have you been? But we
For
appreciate
real.
it. And
Yeah.
he says, love this movie.
Yes.
Appreciate it and good to hear from you. Know you're still out there. And
Yeah, I was actually just thinking about him the other day. It's so weird.
Yeah.
So cool.
And then one from Mikey Z. Crystal, if you take that one.
Not one of my favorite werewolf films. More about wolf men than werewolves. True. Some good special effects, but the story to me is a bore. Yeah, I totally get it. It's more of a metaphor. Okay. Great discussion by the panel, especially Crystal's feminine take on this early Neil Jordan effort. I totally think I see it different from, yeah.
Oh, I'm sure.
Yeah, why not do High Spirits from Mr. Jordan? It's an 80s ghost story of sorts. I've never heard of that. Okay, so see, every time we get like feedback, I have to make lists because there's
Yeah.
always lists of movies I need
I
to
remember High
see.
Spirits is more of a comedy, but it's been a
Right,
while.
right. It's Peter O'Toole.
Peter
and Daryl
O'Toole,
Oh, I
Hannah.
love
yes.
Peter O'Toole though.
Daryl Hannah.
Oh,
Steve
God,
how about-
Gutenberg.
wait a
How
minute.
about Peter O'Toole and
Oh, I've seen High Spirits.
oh man, there's another guy who knew how to choose scenery.
Steve
When
Gutenberg.
a hotelier attempts
Yeah.
to fill the chronic vacancies at his castle by launching an advertising campaign that falsely portrays the property as haunted, 2 actual ghosts show up and end up falling for 2 guests.
Yeah,
Okay.
I have seen this one. I do like that movie. That's such a
Bit of a
cute
ghost story, yeah.
movie.
Yep.
Yeah, that's sweet.
Someone
God,
should
Peter
have
O'Toole, such a legend.
someone should have made a movie with Peter O'Toole, Gary Busey, and Nicolas Cage.
Who would get all the attention though? At a point, it's like someone's got to take a back seat.
Yeah, forget that.
Mhm.
I
Yeah.
don't know. I appreciate it, Mikey Z.
Yes. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks,
Lots of good
everybody.
feedback. I'm going to try to keep up on. It's easy for me to pull stuff from the YouTube comments, but then to dig into, oh shoot, and then I left one out.
Uh-oh. What is it?
We'll save it for next time. Well, we got a really long one that came through Doc from somebody who's been a longtime listener that has always wanted to comment and never had before. And then just like goes, he covers every DOH, and it's
Oh, that's
long.
awesome.
We're gonna
we
do
have,
it
like-
here. Well, let me think about that here
This
because
might be the longest time we have
Yeah.
before.
I could pull that up actually very quickly because I have a separate folder, and maybe I'll just read that one.
See, I got to tell you guys, Jeff handles all the business, and we're
Mhm.
thankful.
Oh yeah.
Okay. Jeff is organized. I am not an organized person.
And
Okay.
if they
No.
left it to me, Decades of Horror would take a decade for between episodes.
Yeah. Bill, you and me.
Okay,
both.
well-
Come on. Yeah.
We'll stop in between stuff here to comment. So this one is from Gregory Crosby,
Nice name.
and his email handle is
Oh,
Dr. Gogol, which I love.
From Mad Love.
Or the also the Russian writer.
Oh,
So that's a good point, Bill. I have to ask about that. Dear Grue-Crew, first, my sincere thanks. I stumbled upon the Decades of Horror family during the lost year of the lockdown. Amidst my search for a horror movie podcast that didn't inspire me to take an axe to the fiber optic cables of the internet.
wow.
You hit me in the feels there,
yeah.
Gregory. I dove into the archives, especially with Doc and Santos. Kudos to you, buddy.
Oh.
That's the
Good stuff.
gold. And listened to nearly every episode, sometimes after refreshing my memory with a film found via streaming, sometimes not. I pocketed a few episodes until I could see the film under discussion, especially Bay of Blood, which I finally saw on the big screen this past summer at the Museum of Modern Epic 2-month-long horror film festival.
Whew, awesome.
Bravo as ever on your discussion of Bava, though I'm still mildly miffed that Bill missed out on the discussion of my all-time favorite Bava, Kill Baby Kill on Classic Era. Yeah, we're sort of brain dead. I if I remember right, Bill was traveling, and it was like some
That's very possible.
family business kind of.
Every now and then,
travel.
I'll get a thing from Joe's like, oh, we really are so sorry that we forgot to invite you on this movie because it's like one of your favorites. Like if you invited me on for every movie that I've said is one of my favorites, it would just be me. So yeah, don't sweat it.
Yeah, the last one was The Seventh Voyage of Sinbad.
Oh,
Yeah. Yeah.
During this past 2 years, I've often wondered when I would get around to sending some feedback to express my appreciation for the hours of pleasure DOH has given me. Would it be to mount a spirited defense of Messiah of Evil
Wow.
at
Wow.
the 70s?
Yeah.
Sidebar, yes, it's a hot mess, and yet there's something about those pretentious art house 70s horror films that have a disturbing, truly nightmarish quality, an aura
This
that
is true.
lingers under the skin, long after more accomplished horror films have faded in my mind. Messiah definitely fits that particular category for me. I agree of that completely, because we even on Gruesome, there are films that we review them and I'm thinking this is not a good film, but like months later there'll be some scene or some
Yeah.
feeling that's stuck in my mind. And so Messiah of Evil it's got some freaky imagery in it. Would my first missive be an amusing anecdote about how the only monster that truly scared me as a child was the Blob, because I knew my mother would not allow me to sleep with a fire extinguisher. You know, if I remember right, Santos used to say that too, because he said there's nothing it just consumes.
Yeah.
There's
You can't reason with it.
Yeah. Let him sleep with a fire extinguisher. Would my first email simply be an evil spell that, when read aloud by Chad, would turn into a severed hand clutching at his throat? Tagline:
He's got
all
Chad's.
choked up.
Oh, that's so funny.
Nothing ever felt quite right for my first foray into contact. Then, one recent night, searching for the comfort food of a creature feature, I found an excellent quality upload of The Deadly Spawn on YouTube.
Oh.
As I watched the film, a curious thing began to happen. I could hear Bill's voice in the back of my mind describing the practical effects. I could hear Chad singling out his favorite scene. I could hear Crystal enthusing about the gore. I could hear Jeff describing one of the cast's obscure TV credits.
Yes.
Wow, he knows us so well.
He does.
I know. I'm like, oh my God. Yep.
In short, I found myself listening to a Decades of Horror podcast that did not yet exist. It seems I cannot watch an old horror movie now without the voices of the Grue-Crew lurking in the shadows. Not that I'm complaining, mind you, but this is still an uncanny development. Then I thought, aha, here's a reason to write. To request The Deadly Spawn be added to the list of upcoming shows.
Okay.
But then a week later, you announced The Deadly Spawn was the next episode.
Yeah.
Coincidence? I think not. Kudos on that excellent episode. I was especially amused to find out the killing of the heroine wasn't an inspired horror decision, but merely an actor's sudden unavailability during the shoot.
Yeah.
Oh, that happens. Yeah.
You will be pleased and or alarmed to hear that many of the comments made matched up with the ones I heard in my mind.
Yeah, that is
likely
alarming.
Listen to too many DOH episodes. Yeah. And even Doc was the one that requested that because he saw it coming up on the Shudder schedule. And then at the last minute, he couldn't do it. So he was going to join us for that. I would have loved to heard what he had to say. Continue the excellent work from the classics to the 70s to the 80s. I know you base your selections on what's streaming, but here are a few suggestions. For classic era, Fiend Without a Face.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, we're definitely got it on there. Dave Dreher keeps bringing that one up.
I love that film.
And The Flesh Eaters.
Good one.
Which
Very good.
actually had I believe that had a Scream Factory release this past year. Vivid childhood memories of one very disturbing scene.
Oh, yeah, I know the one.
For the 70s, Bad Ronald.
Oh, yeah, TV movie, yes.
A TV film, also a haunting childhood memory. For 80s, The Hidden.
Oh, listen, The Hidden is one of those that does not get streamed very often because it's one. I have a list of
really
ones
nasty,
I'm always
right?
looking for. No. The Hidden's great. It's,
Maybe I'm thinking of a different one.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm thinking of The Beast Within, I think.
Oh, yeah, that's what you're. Yeah. The Hidden's more of a cool kind of cop sci-fi monster bit. Yeah, it's nice.
The Hidden, the movie I dug so much, I saw it twice in the theater. But whatever comes down the pike, I'm sure I'll enjoy everyone's impressions as always. I know this is a long email, so I suggest you wait to read it when you need to fill in time.
Yeah, wow. He really does know us way too well.
Yeah.
He does.
He does say after one of those truly terrible films where there's nothing much to say. Well, that's not really the case, but yeah. Like The Ripper or The Howling 2.
Yeah. Possession.
Which were not bad films. Just saying, guys. I mean, The Ripper, kind of debatable, but.
Cheers, Gregory Crosby. P.S. I identified my favorite Baba above as Kill Baby Kill, but I must confess That's my favorite gothic Bava. My little black Bava heart truly belongs to Planet of the Vampires.
Planet of the Vampires.
Which I love. And there was a Blu-ray of that came out last year.
Oh, did you get it?
I did. I'm saving it up.
Of course you did.
For,
Gorgeous.
Yes, of course I did.
Yeah.
Even usually, I'm always ticked off when Blu-rays come out after we've done something.
Yes.
So that I can't take advantage of the extras. But there are certain films, and Planet of the Vampires is one.
Yeah. And if you get a Bava Blu-ray, you're almost guaranteed to get a Tim Lucas commentary because he's the expert on Bava, and those are worth the price just by themselves.
So interesting. I don't think I'm going to give all the details of his signature, but poet, freelance writer, and editor is part of it.
Oh.
So really appreciate you listening, Gregory.
That was awesome.
Yeah.
Really appreciate the effort that you put into this. And you know what? You can just jot down a thought.
Yes, I was about to say that too. If you just want to say like a little bit, you don't have to. Don't feel like you have to entertain us with your comments.
Right. And also, if you keep hearing my voice in your head, you might want to get that looked at. There is medication.
Yeah. Oh, I did that once. I talked to I was talking to Santos once about a interview that he did, and I said something about when I heard your interview with so and so actor in this movie, and he goes, heard.
Yeah,
it was a print interview, but I heard his voice
that's
when
funny.
I was reading
That is
it.
funny.
So anyway, all right.
I hear y'all's voices all the time. I'm like, oh, they're gonna hate this. I can already they're gonna hate it. I'm sorry.
All right, we got to get going because we got things to do.
See, now that
places
worked.
to go, all that stuff. So appreciate you guys hanging with me while I bring that up. But you know what? We do a new film from the 80s every 2 weeks.
Yep.
The next one is Chad's pick.
And do we know what it is?
Oh, yeah.
It's a
He's not here to
Chad pick.
defend himself. So go ahead. Let's hear it.
Zombie Nightmare.
I don't think I've seen that.
Oh, I can tell you why I picked it. There are two reasons, probably.
Oh, no.
I've heard him talk about it before. Number one is it stars Adam West.
Oh no.
And John Michael Thor. Or Michael
John
Thor.
Michael Thor.
So clearly the acting is on a different level.
And Tia Carrera.
Not a good level.
Well,
and still not still it's all okay.
So anyway.
This is gonna be fun.
It's Canadian. That's all you need to know.
Doing next.
Yeah.
And it's currently available on Tubi and the Classic Horror Movie Channel. So
I'm actually kind of excited. I'll probably like it.
Check
Probably
those
be a little
movies out.
You
campy.
probably will.
So hey guys, leave feedback. Subscribe. Please subscribe. We're gradually moving up in our number of subscriptions. We do have a target and we have a ways to go. We're not overly aggressive on that target. We know that our podcast is not the the 7 to 10 minute quick shot that most YouTubes are, but we do think of our listeners as family. We do.
That's true.
That's absolutely true.
All right. So let me remember. How do we close this out?
Oh boy.
Well,
I don't know how to think about it. So catch us again every 2 weeks for another great horror movie of the 1980s, as only Decades of Horror can do it.
Say goodnight.
Say goodnight.
Yes, good night.